Hello, everybody, and welcome to our after church tea time. I'm Granville Campbell, and I'm joined by Andy and Nikki. And we're going to be sharing our experience of the sermon from Shaleia on what do we all experience on our ascension journey. And for me, it was interesting to just sit through it and just relate to the experience because I feel like, as you shared, like sometimes we actually just feel like we're alone and we've got all these weird and unusual upsets coming up that nobody else is going through. And then you connect with people from the community and you just realize, well, hey, I'm not weird. And it's normal to experience these things. And I can actually just suspend the judgment. So with that, I'm going to open to the two of you as well and see what your initial experience of the sermon and the Sunday service was for you today.
Yeah, for me, it was very relatable because since I've joined this community, I had this experience that I felt shame and guilt about, like hard feelings that came up, like the feelings that uh, I wasn't accepting within myself. And then eventually, I kind of started getting comfortable in really relaxing into whatever feeling came up because I was really accepting every feeling that was coming up because I know that that wasn't me. So it I didn't need to identify myself with like such feelings, and it it felt much better to um, understand that after those feelings. Um, I arrived to a place where I am really who I am. It's not the feeling. The feeling is not like who I was. So that was a big piece in my awareness in this journey and experience that I had. And this is mainly because of the community and the environment that we are in with people that apply the teachings and are basically going through the same things that everybody is going in one way or another. So that felt really good to kind of really ground into that safety energy. And with that, now like doing the mirror exercise, healing, it feels much safer and much better, and it goes really quickly, to be honest. So this was my experience.
Yeah. For me, like the whole sermon was just like a resume of what I go through all day, like always, since I started like this ascension path, like following the teachings of union. And I feel like it was very good to have it like summarized in this way. And I feel like Soraya like really touched upon all points that somebody through this journey goes through and realizes. And there was like some points that I was like, oh yeah, like that's true. Like for example, one thing was that um when like I heal something, for example, and then like I don't specifically know what that will manifest outside as. And I just heal it because it's like about the inner reality and not specifically about the outside. And I don't know how that will, what that will transform in my reality as we choose, like we create our reality, obviously. And my awareness was always like when something shifted, then when I saw it outside, I was like, oh, that's what I healed back then. Like that's what I was working towards. Even though like I made a choice to heal something or like an area in my life, and I know that I'm working like towards something specific, there are times that we go through like small upsets and we don't know exactly what we're healing there. Like we know, and Soraya also mentioned this, like there are two kind of like two types of upsets. There's like a major, it's like a major arcana and like the smaller arcana in the tarot cards. It's like you heal small upsets and you don't know what that will bring specifically, and then you know like overarching what you're working towards, like specifically in that period of time or what you called in. So it's very funny and relatable. That's yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Because one of the things that stood out for me in the sermon was the concept of the upsets come up in themes, right? And the themes sometimes just revisit and revisit and revisit for years. And I was looking at this and listening to Shaleia, and I'm like, oh, actually, and when you actually put it in perspective and you start to realize what you've healed over and over, and the new ones and the different ones, you just start to realize that all your healing is creating this roadmap that you probably wouldn't have created before, right? If somebody gave you a blank piece of paper, you weren't going to draw that roadmap, not with that terrain, not with those mountains, not with those valleys, not with those rivers, not with that weather system. You just wouldn't do it. And that's the thing, right? So it's the sense of you can't make it up, first of all. The kind of the roadmap reveals itself, and only when you look back do you see the roadmap. Because when you're on that path and you trying to find a destination of sorts, you don't know what's lying in front of you. You can only really look back on the road, on the upsets that you've healed, and realize that that's the roadmap. But when you do realize it, you realize that it's created a roadmap, so it's extending the roadmap. So, it actually just creates a level of peace that something is happening, something is changing, it's improving. You're coming out of this weather system into a different weather system. And it feels more peaceful, right? You don't necessarily know what's coming, probably the not so peaceful part, but the fact that you know you can heal through it because you have.
Yeah.
You've 100% had a history of healing through the upsets that came up. So it's highly unlikely that you've built up these spiritual chops and all of a sudden you don't have them for the next piece. And I think that's just that kind of makes me peaceful and hopeful that I'm getting through it. Because sometimes when you don't see what's in front of you, you're like, ready? And I am one of those people that kind of need to know. So that really feeling does not work for me at all. But I like that when I look back, I can actually go, oh, okay, that's where I came from. So I know I'm going somewhere. And that's the peaceful part.
Yeah, I love that. And then, like, for people that don't believe in God, how do you explain that? For example, like how can you say like God is not real, for example? Like if there is like a specific process, and that's why I love the teaching of union, because there's like a specific process that it just like looks different, but it's the same at the core. And like it might look different like from person to person, from what their upset is, from what it looks like outside, what they're like choosing to heal, what they have to heal as a soul, and everything like that. But at the core, as Shaleia also mentioned, like there are universal laws, and like it's the same process for everyone, and like we can all relate into that in this community, and just see that okay, like this person is moving through something very similar, or someone in is like explaining the process of what they did, and they did the same thing I did for another thing, for example. Like it's the same, it's very simple. And like I feel like throughout healing and moving forward with this journey, like you do build this trust and like more faith and more surrender into it, because you do understand it's a process.
Yeah.
Like you understand that you don't have control, and you don't have to know the thing is. And that's like a huge relief, to be honest, because you know that okay, God's got me, I'm moving towards going closer to God and being with God in my heaven on earth that I'm building with him. And it's like, why should I worry? Like, what is there to worry if I just choose? Like, I choose to heal. I choose to move forward here. Okay, I know that it's an upset. I know that after I heal it, I will feel relief, and that's what matters after all. Like, it's this process, and it's very practical. The thing is, because like me starting life with spirituality, and I remember this, I was like very 5D, like very, oh, I will ascend my body now. I will leave my body and I will go and live in La La Land. Because
Same.
it's more comfortable or something.
Yeah.
And it's more higher state. But actually, like, when I tried that, I saw that there was a lot of contrast in my life happening, because I was like numbing out. I was like literally in imagination land. So
Yeah.
like I would get, there was like a high feeling, and then like that's why it's very important to have a teaching, a specific teaching that you can follow, that has like specific steps that you follow to feel better, and you see that you heal, and you see that some stuff that a couple years ago like had such a big impact on you, they don't anymore. Like they feel good, like you don't feel like they will crush you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what the teaching does is helps you to ground a good feeling. Because the high that you were talking about, it's you were still in some way, shape, or form chasing the good feeling, but that is not a sustainable way
not
to do it.
sustainable. Yeah.
So the teaching helps you to ground a good feeling, so you can always feel good while you're living. So yeah, and it's also what Granville said about like you are creating a roadmap, but you're not really seeing it until you see it. And I feel like with every little step we take in the healing process, let alone that we ground the process and we master the process and we surrender more into the process, but we also um, learn that every little healing that we do kind of opens pipelines in our consciousness. And then when we arrive like to a certain state, and when we look back, we're like, oh, okay, all that small little upsets that I healed are actually have created this deep peace that is grounded within me, and now I am not struggling in those areas of my life. I feel good about those places, and you just go deeper with that.
Yeah. Just wanted to add something else about this, because I feel like sometimes like when you're in the community and like people see other people like sharing a lot, and I've had this like in the beginning, like people share a lot and they know exactly what they're working through. So they know, oh, I'm working through this, and they can pinpoint it specifically. And like it's good to know that, but I feel like for me specifically, how I did it in the beginning, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was working through. I just was working through like a bad feeling that I had. And like it's keeping that faith that's little, is even if it's small, like just follow that. Just follow that and just like have faith that what you're doing will like build into your heaven on earth ultimately. And it will, because it's the process, and it's like proven.
Yeah.
And I think that, like that's the fun part. The fun part, and I don't know if you guys have scientific minds like I do. Like you have to test things, but you've kind of gotten to the point where you've tested it. You've tested that the mirror exercise works, and you've done it countless times. And I think that's what Andy was speaking to around the mastery. Like you don't know you're mastering it while you're doing it. You're kind of just doing it because that is what works, and you feel it. You feel the relief when you do the mirror exercise. And so it starts to become a very scientific process. And that science proves itself over and over again. It's not like one day it works, one day it doesn't, one day it's kind of adding another little component to this mixture. It's very scientific, so it becomes much more clear as you go along. but it also becomes more comfortable. That the upsets used to really bother me, and now they don't. It's like, oh, that thing's coming up. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see what's going on there. Let's kind of I don't know if you guys have heard the term of like taking the wind out of its sails. Like you literally just stop it in its tracks, like it doesn't have legs. It's like, okay, you are there. I need to deal with you. Let's deal with you. But it's not. It doesn't have the force that it used to have because we've learned over and over how the mirror exercise actually works for us, and so we start to inadvertently get into mastery, even though we had that wasn't the intention, right? The intention wasn't to master the mirror exercise. But as we heal the upsets, we start to master the mirror exercise. Just like as we start to engage with everybody, that first engagement is probably a bit unusual, it's new, but you become more and more comfortable. You get to be more and more peaceful in that engagement. And I think this is what that thing is. We have learned in our human experience across many things that repetition gives you skill. And this is the same thing with mastering the mirror exercise. Repetition makes you more skillful at it, and eventually you become mastered at it. And I like how you said, Andy, that it kind of opens these pipelines. And these pipelines take you into your peace, but you actually, when you look back, you realize it also takes you into your expansion where you were playing small, feeling boxed in, you kind of just start to feel the walls that you probably inadvertently created are starting to dissolve around you, and you didn't have to take a sledgehammer to the walls. You didn't have to reshape the house. The walls start to dissolve as you become more peaceful and your ground into the good feeling. And that's the nice thing. It's like we're not resisting the bad, we're just moving past it because we're healing. And so the bad has to dissolve. It can't stay. It has no foothold anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's so true. Do you have something?
No, I'm just also processing what Gabriel said. It's true that the bad is kind of like a stain that has stayed in our consciousness because we kind of like spilled the food, you know, and the stain is there not because it was originally there, but because in some time we kind of integrated that belief.
We made a
and
choice.
We made a choice, yeah.
Believe that it's there, but it's not actually there. Actually.
Yeah. And also the healing journey is a process of revealing that, oh, okay, these are all the places in my consciousness where I believe that I am separate from God. I am separate from love, however you want to put it. And it's a journey of self-discovery to discover those parts within yourself, obviously with the mirror exercise.
Yeah, and I feel like it's important to know that you don't like, nobody has to go and like be very nitpicking what they want to heal about themselves, because then like you're constantly criticizing yourself unconsciously. I feel like with myself, for example, like when I was very focused and I was like, oh, I need to heal this and this is what I need to heal next, and then like I was making like a list and it never worked actually, because God wanted me to heal something else about myself. Like now I'm just like, okay, I surrender. I just want to feel good. I just want to be with God. That's it. I'm okay with whatever I need to heal. But there is like, I feel like in the beginning, because it's like new, you do want to go into specific places, and like depending if you have like a control pattern, then like that can be like very specific, targeting something that, oh, I want to change this and this is what I will change. Like it ends up not feeling very good.
Yeah, because you're kind of taking action through that pattern, not
not through like genuinely wanting to heal, you know. or like just wanting like that good feeling. You just want like, maybe you want a result, or maybe you want something outside, you know, like you want to manifest something, so I will heal this. Like that's not at the core like healing, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, it's very important to surrender what you said to what comes up. Because, for example, I have had moments where something big came up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is what I have to deal for today. This is like such a big thing." And then something else was kind of upsetting me meanwhile, like taking my focus away from a big upset. Like, for example, something silly, like my cats were annoying me or something like that. And that's where I understood that you have to completely surrender to the present moment and feel into what is happening at that moment, and not really like think about it. Like, this is what I have to do today, heal this or that. And
It's like you have an agenda on healing.
yeah,
That doesn't work.
that
You
doesn't
have an
work.
agenda on God. You want to like keep like be God's manager. Like, okay, God, today we will heal this. Like,
Yeah.
I guess it's like reverse.
Yeah, and you're really pointing to that aspect, that it's really important to listen to God, to learn to communicate with God, and always choose and take action from a place of connecting with God. Otherwise, you will crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I love what you guys have shared, because I think one of the most important things is that presence. And you know, it's so easy to get distracted by anything. Like
Yeah.
it like just, you know, when you start to understand the concept of being present with yourself, it's very easy to get distracted because we've always just been distracted. It's kind of like what's, you know, like, it's kind of like life. Like everything distracts us. And then we start to learn about presence, and it's tough. It's tough to remain present with yourself. And I think both of you spoke to this power of choosing at any given time to be present with yourself, no matter what is coming up, and not to have an agenda that you want to kind of self-manage your healing. I like Nikki's concept of you wanted to be God's manager. I thought that was quite funny. It's like, oh yeah, you know, you exercise your superpowers in your corner over there, and it's just those kind of things, and it's like it just reminds you constantly to get back to your center, because I feel like when we come into the ascension journey, we're very off center. We might think we're on center, but we're kind of very off center. And if anybody's ever felt, it's that wobbly feeling that you're not quite in focus. You're kind of overlaying, and it's moving in and out of focus. And it's something that Soraya spoke to as well, is that coming into awareness and clarity. And it's that in and of itself is quite a learning journey to just get back to center without being almost egocentric about it. Like, you know, you loving yourself doesn't have to be an ego trip. It's kind of being clear and being present and embodied, like being inside your body, and then having a relationship with life, as opposed to having a relationship with all the distractions in life, but not really having a relationship with yourself. And I think that's been, for me, one of the biggest learning lessons on the ascension journey, is being aware that the distractions come up, and being aware that they take me out of focus. And so just healing that, coming back to clarity and focus all the time, and consciously being aware of it. And, you know, I had to laugh when Suraya said it comes up for years sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, like, when you're sitting there and you go, oh, are we doing this again? It's like, what's happening?
That's so
And,
funny.
you know, and I think it's great to be able to just connect with everybody and go, well, actually, yeah, you know, that is the experience. The experience is, it happens cyclically, it comes back, you go deeper, you're not abnormal. I think that's the big part. It's like, just when you connect with everybody and you start to feel like, hey, I'm okay. I'm actually okay.
Yeah.
It's not cruel and unusual. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's like major, I believe, because like I know that like with this teaching, like we're growing, and like when you relate to other people that are not in the community, for example, it can be like, okay, like it's like not night and day. It's like uh, there's a lot of differences, you know, like in the way that you relate to people, and it's different when you relate to people within the community that they are working into healing themselves, they're constantly on the journey. And like it's different when you relate to others that are not, for example. And like I feel like sometimes in the beginning, I believe, or even like until recently, I would be judging myself. I would be like, oh, maybe like um you're so, not that I was doubting my healing, but I was like, oh, I look so weird to these people. And I was like, and what if
Yeah.
you what if you look weird to them? What's the problem with that? Like you have a different path, like you have different priorities, you believe in a completely different thing, and that's okay. Like we're all different people learning in different ways. And we actually chose like the fastest way, and I'm okay with that. And other people might not be, and that's okay. I'm not here to tell people like, hey, you're doing it wrong, or them telling me I'm not doing it wrong. Like I'm doing it in the way that I feel it's the best for me. And something that I also wanted to touch upon was when Soraya said like that we need to focus on what is the purpose, why are we doing this? And of course it's about like our harmonious union being with our twin flame and like building that heaven on earth. And it is about that that building heaven on earth and being with God, like being one with God, like fully and completely in on all areas, and like being healed and feeling that peace and joy and like flow and like dance with God in a way in all areas of our lives. And like I feel when you're in like right in between an upset, and let it be that the worst upset that you have. Like for example, you're in the dark night of the soul, and like you might feel like you're not seeing the end of it, and it's like so hard, so dark, or like deep in your cave, as Soria said. Like you know, like okay, I'm right inside of the darkest thing right now, but like that's just temporary. That's there's a purpose why you're going through it. Like also to tie it with what Lara said at the end, that Jeff and Shaleia has said, that like your challenges are earned, so you earn them spiritually for you to grow. And so like when these things come up, like it's just an opportunity for you to grow spiritually, like to go deeper with God, to be closer with God, to heal that part of your consciousness forever. So it's like very important to keep that focus and not like give up, for example. Like give up is not an option. Let's just throw it out the window. It doesn't exist. Yeah, it's just like it's important to just like keep that in your heart, even when it's very hard. Like hey, it's temporary, it's not real. It's just like feelings, they pass. There's a reason, like God put you here, God is with you there. It's not that you're alone. And also like you have a community that you can rely upon. You have people that are going through the same thing. You can write a post, you can ask for help from your Ascension coach, for example. Like there is support, like there is no need to do this journey alone or isolate yourself when things get hard, or judge yourself that that other person is sharing that they had like this major breakthrough, and while you're going through like very hard time. Like we're not here to compare ourselves with other people. Like we're here to go through that thing that God wants us to go through, and we are not alone. That's the good thing. So
I think everything that you said perfectly resonates to what Granville said about being centered, living from a center place, and actually realizing that we have all of this, and not stay in our cave, and actually come out and really, through that centered place, come out and really choose our healing, choose to move forward, embrace what we have learned, that you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you guys have shared that. And Nikki, I think you kind of just summarized it really well, because that's really it, right? It's to keep going even when you don't quite know where you're going. Like, you know where you're going. You don't necessarily know completely how
Yeah.
you're going to go. And I think that that's the part of surrender that we kind of need to just probably ground into. It's that keep going, because you're actually just passing through the upset. You're not staying in that upset. You're passing into the next level, into the next growth space, into the next accumulation of peace. And I feel like that for me feels a lot more comfortable than remaining stuck in the upset. It's that you go through it. And, we often hear these stories of people who chose to give up at that crucial moment. And, it's like literally, as you were talking about the cave, it's like giving up just before you see that sliver of light and the other side, where you're coming out of this cave of fear and cave of darkness. And I'm like, who wants to stay there? Who wants to stay there?
Yeah.
Like, there's an other side. There's an end in sight. You may not always see the end in sight, but you know that it's coming. You know from your history, healing, choosing to heal, you have come out on the other side of these things. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's the thing. Like, if we never remember nothing else, we know we've come out through the other side on
Yeah.
many things. We can continue.
That's so true. Like, like you've gone through like hell, and then like you broke on the other side. So like that's enough. And I feel like I have periods of times where I just went through that, like I believe like still in the beginning, when I didn't know like about it's a process, and like after I went through that, I was like, please just like screenshot this moment, and when I'm again in this moment, just tell yourself, do you remember that you went through this? And it's okay. Like, keep the faith. Yeah.
It's funny because she's a social media marketer. So. You're just thinking that way.
Screenshots.
Yeah. I just saved that post.
Yeah.
That post.
Yeah.
That's the truth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was feeling into like what, because I asked myself the question, what did I do? Like also the screenshot that Nikki said, I have the screenshot too, but I also asked myself the question, what did I do to come out to the other side the last time that I had something really difficult? And besides like following the process, doing the steps and everything, what I feel in my heart that I always have is like faith. So that has been a really key component for me in coming on to the other side.
Yeah, I feel like if you don't have that faith, even if you try to do an exercise, actually, like I saw a post from Jeff that said like if you do the 4 steps, even if you like, correct me if I'm wrong, even if you don't like believe 100% that it will heal something about you, it still will heal, because it's like a fact proven thing.
Yeah, it's process.
Yeah. So it's very interesting that it works anyway.
It's science.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and I like that, because I think one of the last things that truly stood out for me in the sermon was, you're choosing healing, you're choosing love, and your love can't fail, right? So even if you don't completely believe it, some part of that love is taking, right? It's
Yeah.
So, like, there can't be confusion. You might have to be reminded that the love is taking hold, but it doesn't all of a sudden just dissolve and leave you. It must go somewhere. And so it's going into that space that needed it in the first place.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I loved, like Shaleia touched upon this. She was like, oh, maybe like you're resistant to healing that actually, to go through the process, but somewhere inside of you, you're choosing to heal. So like, even if you're resistant to actually healing and doing that work, you're still gonna do it because you've chosen it and it will come to
Yeah,
you.
and with resistance, it's just like you're making it harder for yourself. That's it.
I feel like it's a process.
Yeah.
Because it's a process, like I feel like it's trial, you know, like you just like get to know the process itself. And then
Yeah.
like you're like, okay, I know it works, so I'm good. I will just go through it. 'Cause
Yeah. There is a reason behind every choice that you make. Like there may be a secondary benefit.
Yeah. And it depends also on the person. Like there might be somebody who is like, oh, I'm okay, I will just heal and I have zero resistance. And there are people that are going through healing that resistance with love itself. So maybe it might be. I had that, for example. So, talking from experience.
I think we all have. So just checking in with both of you. How are you feeling? I'm feeling pretty close to complete, yeah.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I feel we covered a lot of things. Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you both for joining me. Thank you for the conversation. I really did enjoy that. Thank you, Shaleia, for her sermon. And I really appreciated her sermon today as well. And then to everybody that has followed us, please also feel free to like and subscribe to our Church of Union YouTube channel, where you will find all our previous content. And we'd also like to invite you to donate or tithe at unionism.org so that we can continue to produce the content that we do that reaches all of you around the world. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to the team for today's after church tea time. And we shall see all of you quite soon. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.